Right, so right now we'll start off with TestNg. Okay, and first of all, let me explain you why TestNg is required. Okay, right. So out here, till now what we have done is that we made simple scripts in Selenium. Okay, when we work practically, we have to build test cases. We have to build certain test cases which will run in certain order. Okay, so we have to build the test cases which will run one after another. Or the requirement is sometimes all of them should be executing parallelly. Or sometimes the requirement comes up that you don't want to execute certain test. After this you want to execute TC3 and then this one. You don't want to execute TC2. Apart from this, there are other requirements that you have to say build reports, HTML reports. Okay. Apart from that, you have to implement logging in the reports. Logging means that basically what happened at each and every moment when the test was running. Okay. Moreover, in the reports, you also want to put screenshots. Right. So you want to have proper reporting generated. For example, I have a dummy report, extent report. Okay, I'll be talking about that. Okay, this is just a dummy report. Okay, we want to generate a report something like this, that the test case name should be written, the status, and with the description of each and every test, and probably that screenshot can also come up over here, the start time, end time, right? And there should be some graphical representation in the reports as well. So we'll generate these kind of report. This is just a dummy one which I have kept it for you because I don't want to confuse you, right? Okay, now apart from this, whatever I have explained, right, you want to read your data. Your data will be kept in properties file. Your data will be kept in XLS file. Okay, you want to read your data, you want to manage your data. So Selenium will not do all these things. Okay, if you talk about Selenium, then Selenium is just present inside this green box. Selenium API has got commands which can only interact with the browser. You cannot generate reports or read data, and all those commands are not there. So what we do is that we integrate unit testing frameworks in between. Okay, right. We have a controller in between basically. Okay, and this controller is known as a TestNg. Okay, sometimes people also use JUnit, or people also use fitness or cucumber and all. Everything is covered in the videos, right? You can log in into your accounts on qtpselenium.com. You can watch. In this training I will be talking about TestNg, because TestNg is most widely used and it is very easily, you can integrate it with GRID. Selenium GRID will help you to run your test cases parallelly. Okay, so what these frameworks they do, right, unit testing frameworks, they will read the data, they will call the test cases appropriately in a certain order. If you want to skip a test case, they can skip the test case as well, and they will generate the reports as well. This is what they do. This is what TestNg it does, right? So to install TestNg, the first thing is that you have to install TestNg, and it has to be installed as a plugin inside Eclipse. Okay, right. For that, you have to go to Google and just type TestNg Eclipse. Okay, you will get the first website, testng.org. It is a very good website. In fact, I have also learned TestNg from this website only. They have every step mentioned over here. Okay, I have read these steps and I have also learned it from here. Right. Okay, you don't need all the features which are there in TestNg. Whatever I am teaching you will be more than enough. Okay, you click on this link, install the plugin. It has to be installed inside Eclipse as a plugin. Okay, so out here you have to copy this link, this one. I'll give this link to everyone on chat. Okay, right. So you go to help, you go to install new software. Okay, and you hit this link. Okay, hit the enter button. You will get TestNg over here. It will take some time and you can click on next, 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 and you can install it. Once you install it, your Eclipse will restart. Okay, and you can verify the installation by going to window option, show view, other, and you can go to Java. Under Java you will get TestNg. Okay, right, if this is there, that means installation is perfect. So I'll create a new Java project today and I'll call it day 8 TestNg. Alright, fine. Now in TestNg there are classes, but there is no main function. Hold on, I'll tell you. I'll make a new package known as test cases. Right, a package is like a folder inside a folder. Okay, under the source folder I've made a package test cases, and I'll make a new class known as, say, login test. A very simple test case, say a login test. Right. So in TestNg you have no main function. You have got annotations in TestNg. There are predefined annotations. Okay. For example, you can take the annotation @test. Right. Public void do login. Fine. And this @test means that this annotation is a test case. Okay, or sorry, this function is a test case. Right, you will have to move the mouse over the error and you will add the test. You will get the option to add TestNg library. Don't add JUnit library, add the TestNg library. When you select it, you see the in your project you will see TestNg added as a library. Okay, and again you can move your mouse over the error. You can import test annotation as well. Okay, you can import your test annotation. Right, and now what you can do, you can print something over here, login test. There's a question being asked, is there a specific reason why TestNg is not having a main function? The reason is that we have @test annotations over here. Automatically TestNg will run every function with this annotation. I can make another test case, @test, say public void send mail. So this will also become a separate test case. Okay, right? You have got test cases like this. Okay, for example, sending mail test. Then you can have another annotation, @test, public void say logout. Fine, and you can print logging out. If you have to run this program, you can right click on this login test file and you'll get the option run as a TestNg test. Okay, you can run it from here, it will get executed and you will get a proper message that total tests were 3, failures are 0 and skips are 0. Nothing got skipped. You executed 3 test cases. And if you there is a by default, there is this results of running the class tab over here. You will get, in that you will have all the 3 tests mentioned. Green means that all 3 of them are passing. Okay, right. And you can also run this by directly clicking on the run button as well. Okay, right. Now if you refresh your project, if you right click on the project and refresh the project, you will get a test output folder inside which you will have a lot of files. You open index.html, right? You open up this file and you see this will be an HTML report by default made by TestNg. It's a default TestNg report. It is not a good report, not a very good report. Okay, so what you can do is you can ignore this report. I'll tell you how to make better reports, extent reports and XSLT. I'll tell you, but just for your information, TestNg also builds up its own report. Right, now if you look at this output, you will also see the messages getting printed that login test or logging out and sending mail. So all the three outputs are coming up over here, but the order is not the same. What we were expecting was that, what we were expecting was that first this test case is called, then this, and then this. So the order should be the same, but the order is not same. It will never be same. Okay, you have to, if your test cases are dependent on each other, you have to introduce dependencies and priorities. Okay, you have to mention over here that the priority of this test case is the highest 1. Okay, then priority 2, then priority 3. So if you mention these parameters, priority parameters, TestNg will automatically execute them as per the priority, even if the order is not the same. So when you run this, you get the, hold on, yes, it's executed and you see the output. It's in the desired priority, right? Okay, so I hope you are able to understand. Fine. Okay, now what you can do is that you can introduce validations as well in this. Okay, I will make a new class known as, say, verify title. Okay, a very simple test case, right? At the rate test, wherein I have to verify the title of the test case. This is my test case. Okay, with at the rate test annotation. This is my test case. I have to verify the title of the window, suppose. So in testing, what we have, we generally have an expected value, the expected title, and we have the actual title. Right. The expected title, the and actual title will be read by Selenium driver.getTitle command. An expected one we will keep in, say, Excel file or a properties file. In previous day 7 class I had explained you, right, how you can manage the Excel files in the properties file. So you can keep your expected and actual titles over there, and now you have to compare them. Okay, so to compare them we have got assertions. We cannot use if else statement over here, because in the reports also we have to mention the failure. We have to make it 1 if the test case is failing, right? So what we do is that we write assert class, we use assert class, right? Import the assert class, import it from TestNg. Sometimes people import it from JUnit. JUnit is also similar kind of a framework. So sometimes people import it from there. Import it from TestNg. Okay, make sure it is org.testng.assert, and you can write assert equals. Assert is a class in which all the functions are static. You can directly call the functions. So assert equals. You can send the actual value and the expected value. Okay, now when you run this code, this will say that the test is 1, failure, there is no failure, both the titles they matched. Suppose if I change the expected title, now when you run the code, it will simply say that the failures are 1, the test has failed. And if you look at the results, you will get the red mark over here. It will mention out here that expected was this but was found something else. So assert equals, this thing is very important. It will help you to validate two values and also report if they are failing in TestNg. Similarly, there is another assertion function that is known as assert true. Okay, right. Now what does assert true does? It has a condition and a message. Okay, suppose if I write 10 greater than 8, this is true. 10 is greater than 8, it will evaluate to true. In Java, if I just write system.out.println 10 greater than 8, and if I run this gives me a boolean output. It will print true, okay, or false. So similarly, if I write over here assert true, 10 greater than 8, and this message is actually error message. So what happens is that I'll tell you the practical usage of this assertion in some time. Just understand how it works first. Okay, right. If this condition is evaluating to true, then this assertion will pass. If I run the code, total test runs 1 and failures are 0. You will have no issue. But if I write 10 greater than 18, if it evaluates to false, then the test will fail and this error message, whatever error message you are giving over here, will be reported in the report automatically. When you run this code, it fails the test case. And in the report, you will see error message coming up. This is because of whatever message you write over here will come up out there. Okay. Right. Now, when will this assertion be used? Remember, we had made a function like is element present. You can call over there. You can send the XPath of the element in that function. So if that function returns you true, it's fine. If it is returning you false, you can throw the error message that element not found, something like this. Under those circumstances, you can use this. Okay. When we do the project, when we start with the framework, this will get more clear, but just I'm telling you, these two assertion functions are more than enough and they will be used. Okay, now sometimes, right, okay, Yogesh, hold on, I'm coming over to your point. Yeah, sometimes what happens is, you are very sure that the test is failing. Suppose after logging in, you check whether you have logged in or not. There is this, and you come to know that fine, I have not logged in. Maybe some parameter is missing, whatever is the case. You are very sure. Okay. So in that case, if you directly want to fail the test case, you can write assert.fail. Okay, or you can also mention the error message if you want out here. So this one will also be used. Okay, so these three assertion functions will be used. Right. Now, coming over to the login test over here. If I am using assertions, suppose if I write over here assert.fail, I fail the login test. If I run the code, then in the results of running the code, you will see the login test has failed, other two have passed. This is something which is not acceptable. Because other two test cases are obviously dependent on login test. They are dependent that login test passes, only then they should be executed. Otherwise they should be skipped. Right. So we introduce dependency between test cases as well. We can introduce. What we'll do is that we can put comma and you can write depends on methods and you can give the method name as do-log. Okay, like this, and you can put it over here as well. Maybe you can make logout test dependent on both send mail and login. You can mention with a comma send mail. If any one of the functions it fails, if any one of the test cases it fails, logout will never be executed. So I've set the priority and I've also set the dependency. Okay, when you run the code, it will run, but it will skip the other two test cases if the login test is failing. If I comment this and if I run this, then everything passes. Right? Okay. So I hope you are able to understand. Fine. Right? Now, sometimes you want to skip a test case. You don't want to run it. Suppose I want to skip my send mail test. So you can write a line known as throw new skip exception. That is, please skip the test case. Throw new skip exception, skipping the test case. So this will come in the reports. A skip exception will be thrown, and when you run the code, you will see that it has skipped, and the logout test automatically has skipped because it was dependent on the other one. Okay, right? So this is again quite important. Generally what we do is that we keep the information in the Excel file that which test has to be skipped and which test has to be passed. We read the Excel file and correspondingly the test cases which have to be skipped, we throw the skip exception in that. We can put an if condition that if the value in the Excel is equal to skip, then please skip the test case, something like this. Okay, this is just for your understanding. We'll do it. Okay, right. Now there are few other annotations as well in TestNg. Okay, annotations like @before test. Okay, I'll make the function public void before test and @after test, public void after test. Okay, right. Okay, there's a question being asked, what is the use of go depends on? Look, if you don't write it and if the login test is failing, the other two will get executed. We don't want them to be executed. That is why I am giving this. If login test gets skipped or failed, then this function is dependent on do login. Then it will skip the test case. Okay, right? Now we have got annotations. Okay, grouping I'll talk about. Sorry, I got you wrong. Grouping, you can group your test cases. Hold on. So you can import the test annotation, import after test, and I'll just print before test, and I'll print after test. When I run this test case, when I run this code, Then before test will be print. Hold on, this is weird. Okay, okay. Hold on. Yeah. Before test will be printed in the very beginning, and after test will be printed in the very end. So these annotations, they have a predefined order of execution. The order is predefined. Before test will be executed before executing all the tests of a single file, and after test will be executed after executing all the tests of a single file. Suppose you want to open the browser and do the testing on the same browser. You can open the browser here. Basically, you can initialize your driver in Selenium over here, and you can quit your driver over here. In between, the same driver or the same browser can be used for all the three test cases. Okay, right? Similarly, we have another annotation at the rate before method, and inside it you can print before method. Okay, and its sibling after method. What they do, right? When you run the code, before method and after method will be executed before and after executing every test case. Whether test case fails, whether test case passes, whether test case skips, it doesn't matter. They will be mandatorily executed. Suppose you want to build a separate report, an HTML report for all the three test cases, which we will be doing on. So for every test case, you can initialize the report object, rather we will be doing that over here, and you can finalize the report for every test case over here. How we'll do it, that's a separate thing. I'll come over to it. But I'm just giving you a general example. Okay. Apart from this, there are other annotations. You will not be requiring those. In Selenium, it is more than enough to know these annotations. Okay. Right. Now, I hope you understood. I told you how to build test cases, how to prioritize them, how to make them dependent, how to use assertions to validate stuff. Okay, I told you about three types of assertions: assert equals, assert true, and fail. That is, you can directly fail the test. Then I told you you can make the test cases dependent, and now you can have different annotations as well. That is at the rate before method, after test, before test, which will be required.
Hi Ashish.
Yeah, yeah, tell me.
Yeah, just a query. I understood before test and after test. This before method and after method, after which method they will be getting called?
After every test case, see this login test is printed. Before method and after method is printed before and after executing login test. Similarly, sending mail test is executed. So before method and after method is executed after. So every time, every test, it will be run. It will be executed.
Okay. Okay, before all the methods and
Yes.
after all the methods.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, there is one more annotation which is important, and Yogesh will also ask the same question, that what if I want to run a test with different sets of data? For example, I have this class known as a registration test. I want to run the registration test with different sets of data. Okay, right. For example, I have at the rate test annotation, public void register user. I want to register the user on my site. Okay, I want to run this test with different sets of data. In registration, I might have a user ID, I might have a password, phone number, email ID, address. Okay, right. Now, for this, what we do is that we use a two-dimensional object array. I hope everybody is knowing what a two-dimensional array is. It is having certain number of rows and certain number of columns. Okay, right? So number of rows are equal to number of times you want to run the test. Out here I am having 6 rows, that means I want to run the test 6 times. And number of columns are equal to number of parameters in the test case. Just hold on. Right. Number of parameters in the test case. For example, user ID, password, email. If there are 4 parameters, we'll have 4 columns. So what we basically do, we keep the first data set here, second here, third here, fourth here, like this. Each cell has an index. This cell is known as 0, 0. This is 0th row, first column, 0th row, second column. Then 1, 0 starts from here. Okay, right. And 1, 1 will start after that. Okay, 1, 2, like this. Fine. So what we do is that we use an annotation known as @data provider, which returns you a two-dimensional object array. Alright, this data provider annotation will return you a two-dimensional object array. Alright, and what this two-dimensional object array will have, hold on, I'll tell you. Look, there are steps over here which you want to know. The first step is that you make the data provider. Okay, inside it you make the two-dimensional object array with say 3 rows and 2 columns. That means, okay, it's actually like this. The first parameter is number of rows, second parameter number of columns. This means that you want to run the test 3 times, and every time you run you have got 2 parameters, say user ID and password. You fill up the data. You fill up your first row, that is data 0 sorry 0 is equal to say username 1, then 0 1, the second column is say password 1. Then you fill up the second row. Okay, 1 0 1 1, username 2, password. Then after that you fill up the third row, 1 0 sorry out here it should be 2 0 2 1, u3 and p3. Okay, and you return back the object array. Okay, so this data provider will return you a two-dimensional object array. This is the first step. You finalize your data. The second step is that you link this test to the data provider. You have to tell the test that fine, this is your data provider. This function get data is your data provider. So you need to mention over here that the data provider is get data. So you link the test case to the data provider, second step. And the third and the final step is number of row columns should be equal to number of input parameters in the test. I will have to give two input parameters over here because there are two columns. So what will happen is that now when you run this, TestNg will see that this test has got this data provider. It will go inside the data provider. Inside the data provider, TestNg will see that there are three rows and two columns. So what it will do is that it will first execute the test automatically with this set of data. It will send U1 into username and P1 into password. Then next time it will execute, it will send U2 into username, P2 into password, and so on and so forth. Okay. When I run this, you will see automatically total test runs are 3. Okay. U1, P1, U2, P2, U3, P3. Like this. Alright. Vaibhav, I hope you are able to understand now. Your question is answered, right? So you can build a data provider, put the data inside this. Now later on, we will be using the Excel object and we'll store this data from inside the Excel. We'll read this data from the Excel and we will put this data in a two-dimensional object array and we'll execute it. So anyone with any doubts in TestNg, anyone, because this is all about TestNg, this is what we need to know. 99% of the times you'll be using this. Apart from one last thing, that I can run every file individually, but I can also run all these test files together. I can do that. To do that, I will have to I will have to use XML file if I want to run all the Java files together, right? I will have to use this testng.xml file which I have just copied. Okay, so I can mention out here, this is an XML file. Okay, you can mention the test cases, that the first test is login test. It is inside the test cases package login test. Second test case name is sending mail test and it is over here, and the third test case is verify title. Out here you can put any name, but over here the exact name of the class should be there. Okay, right? So when you run this XML file, okay, it should have all the tags closed and all. This is the test suite. Inside it, 3 test cases are there. So all the test cases will be executed from top to bottom in the serial order. Okay, when you right click on this, you can run as TestNg suite. So what will happen is that, okay, there is some error. It is saying that sex parcel. This exception only comes up when there is some error in the XML file. Hold on. If I remove this and if I run it, no way, I am not able to understand. Okay, if XML has an error, you go to the XML, copy the path and open it in the browser. This is the best way. It is opening fine. That means there is no syntax error. There is some other exception only. Okay, this test case is registration test. Okay, you have to have the right test. That was the error. Now when you run this XML, see, it executes all the test cases together from top to bottom. Whatever test cases you mention in this, they will be executed. Okay, right. There's a question being asked that can you please explain how do we get the output for the last registered data? You get the output in the registration test. When you run this, you will get it on the console. If the total test runs are 3, automatically it will come up. You just need to make sure of 3 conditions which I explained you. The first is that you have to have a data provider with the right number of rows and columns which you want to have. You will need to fill up the data. Secondly, you have to link the test case with the data provider. And thirdly, the number of input parameters should be same as number of columns. Okay, Khushbu, there's a question being asked that we have prioritized the test cases. But what will happen to the priority if I run these tests? Look, the prioritization of the test cases is inside the login test file. Inside the login test, we have got 3 test cases. So those tests will be executed as per the priority. I'm not giving the function names over there in my XML. Okay, right? Fine. Now, coming over to the exercises which I had given you. Few people were asking me questions. You want solutions for few exercises? Do you want it? I think Swati Gadam was telling me. Someone was telling me that you guys want the solution and you want to discuss the exercise. Have questions on? Can we go ahead? Yes, you can ask me any questions. And today it only shows one. Maybe it's your PC issue. Okay, just mail me this, Swati. I'll have to sit down and with a cool head and I'll have to look at it. What about the Facebook exercise? Were you guys able to do it? Right? Were you guys able to do the Facebook exercise? Facebook scroll down. Any exercise you want me to discuss out here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Ashish.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Facebook, you gave two exercises. One was to get the total number of friends, and second one to go to the particular friend profile. So
Yeah.
particular friend profile I am able to do, but to get the list of total, no, I'm not able to do. I
Okay.
can just extract only the first 20, but how to scroll, I'm not able to do that. Can you please help with that?
Alright. If you want to get the solution for that exercise, you can refer the free videos. In that one of the free videos, I have mentioned the solution. This is
Welcome everybody to
this is the one. Watch this video, it has the solution. Okay, right? Fine. Others are done, right? Okay. For the frame exercise, I could make this work on frame by clicking close on the frame. What was the URL? Zoho.com, right, Swati? Okay. I had given you this Zoho.com exercise wherein you had to log in into this particular page. You will never be able to log in directly with Selenium because this is a frame. Remember I had explained you frame. You will have to switch over to the frame first. So try to do that. In Paytm also. Swati, you can mail me the code. Okay, I'll check out the code for Paytm. Okay, right. So I hope most of the people like you have done the exercise. That is great. Okay, right. Now in one more thing over here in TestNg, you can build good reports and you can implement parallelism. Hold on, let me create a new Java project. Parallel underscore TestNg.
Hello, Ashish. I have one more question.
Yeah,
Like profile making, you taught us one day,
yeah.
and I'm using that one. I'm able to see that firebug icon when I open the browser with the Selenium. But that firebug icon, sometimes it is working and sometimes it is not working.
Install Firefox 40 and use Selenium 2.53
Selenium, I'm using 2.53
and
only.
install
Okay, so
Firefox 40.
Firefox. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now out here, sometimes what happens is that you have to use Kushbu, install Firefox 40, you'll get Firepath automatically. It's very easy. Okay, it will get installed. Alright. Do you have the admin rights of your PC? Kushbu? Or maybe you can do one thing on your PC, create a new admin user. Okay, log in with that admin user and try to do it. Maybe or something is blocking on your PC. Okay. No, Swati, you need to have admin privileges to make. No, you have to work with Maven. You have to have admin privileges. Okay. Now, suppose I make a new package, test cases. Inside it, I make a new class, test A. Now we all know grid. What is Selenium grid used for? Can anybody tell me? What is Selenium grid used for? Running the test cases parallelly, right?
Parallel.
If I make a test case over here, say public void test A, okay, and I just write over here, I import the TestNg library and I import the test. I write over here starting A, then thread dot sleep 5 seconds and starting test B. Okay, right. I write like this. Fine. So out here, what we will be doing is, just hold on. I'll just move my mouse in this. At first. So I'll put the same thing in test B, but instead of A, I will write B over here. Oh, I was thinking something else. Sorry, ending B and ending A. So test A starts, waits for 5 seconds and it ends. B starts and ends, and similarly C starts and ends. Now I can run them serially with this testng.xml. In testng.xml I can mention the 3 test cases. That is, the first test case is test A. This name can be any name. You don't have to worry. But the name over here should be the name of the test. Test cases dot test A, test B, test C. Now when you run this thing, it prints starting A, after 5 seconds it ends A, it starts B and it ends B, right, and it starts. So it's running them serially. Now you can also run these test cases parallelly by simply writing over here, okay, parallel equals to tests. That means the tests of these suites have to be executed parallelly. So when you run this, all 3 of them will be starting together, wait for 5 seconds, and they will be ending. The order would be little bit here and there, but all three of them are invoked parallelly and they are ending parallelly. So you can run your tests parallelly as well. But what is the use of Selenium GRID then? Anyone? If I am able to run them parallelly with TestNg, what is the use of GRID? Pardon, I cannot hear you. Saves time. Well, this is also saving time. I can run my test cases parallelly. Different browser, okay, I want to run TestA on Chrome, TestB on Firefox, TestA on I can run it. Yes, if you want to run them on different machines remotely, then you have to use GRID. On a single machine, if you have to run the tests parallelly, it's fine. Okay, you can use this way. Yes, we have to use this testng.xml, Yogesh. Okay, now what happens is, in GRID also, look, if you go by my opinion, then I will say that GRID never runs the test cases parallelly. GRID provides the facilitation. Okay, in GRID we have a hub and we have nodes. Nodes are different machines with different operating systems. The hub is connected to the nodes and our code, the TestNg code, is lying on the hub. So what happens is that it is actually TestNg which invokes the test cases parallelly and sends the test cases to the hub. All hub does is that it decides which node to allocate to which test case. We can invoke the test cases parallelly from TestNg. TestNg will be present on the hub. It will hit the hub parallelly with all the test cases. We will have to just write over here parallel equals to tests. That's it. So TestNg will invoke all the test cases parallelly. All the test cases parallelly, when they are invoked, they will hit the hub, and when they hit the hub, the tests will start running parallelly on all the nodes, because hub will direct the test cases to the nodes. I hope you are understanding. I have just told you the concept. I have not started with GRID as of now. I will be starting it later on, but understand this and do keep it in mind. Okay, right now.
So, Ashish, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, to execute a test case parallelly using TestNg, do we have to multiple machines connected? Nodes in the sense multiple machines, right?
Pardon? Multiple?
Nodes means multiple
Yeah,
machines, right?
nodes means multiple machines, yes.
Okay. So, if we want to execute a test cases on multiple browsers parallelly, how we can achieve that?
On the same machine?
Yeah.
That will be answered when I teach you GRID. You'll come to know. Okay? When I teach, when I take up GRID, you will come to know. Alright, that on a single machine, if I want to run 2-3 browsers, you can do the settings in the GRID. Okay? Right? So, now talking about the reporting part, which I told you that there are better reports known as extent reports. You can build these reports. Okay, it is really easy. Everything is inbuilt in these reports. Okay, I'll just make a new project known as reporting. Inside it, I'll make a new class. Simple class, not very tough thing, simple login test. Suppose you have to make a test case. Now you want to build a better report for this test. Okay, so hold on. Similar to different machines, can I use TestNg to run test cases on different? Yes, if you are using Appium tool, you can use TestNg to run it on different mobile devices as well, Shraddha. I can import the test annotation. Now, this test case means that I have to log in inside a certain browser, right? So I have to build an extend report for this. To build an extend report, if I run this, it will run. The first thing is that you have to have, hold on, this file known as extendmanager.java with you. Okay, I have taken this file from somewhere. Just be with me, you will come to know. You need to add few jar files for reporting. Okay, for reporting, hold on, I'll give you the jar files. These two jars you need. Okay, right. I'll give you the jar file links by the end of the class. You can download the jars from there. Or what I'll do is that I'll copy these two jars and I will paste them under the project so that when you download the code you get them. Right. So you add these jars, all the reports will be gone. Now this is the file extent manager. It's really easy to understand this concept. Okay, right. So what we do is that, hold on, and we keep a file known as reportsconfig.xml with us. Let's start with this XML file. This XML file has got the configurations of the reporting. That this will be the title of the report, sample automation reports. This will be the name of the report. You can change these values. It will come up in the reports. Okay. This will be the headline of the report. The date and time format and the hour format in the report. Okay. Right. And you can also have you can also have other things, but this is more than enough. Okay, right. And in the reports, okay, in the reports you have to add multiple test cases. So we will be making provision for multiple test cases. Okay, right. So out here, look at this class login test. Okay, right. And extend manager, that is fine. Extend manager is, yeah, extend manager. This has got the object of extend reports. Okay, this is an inbuilt class. It is something like Firefox driver or WebDriver. We have the inbuilt classes. This class is present in one of these jar files, and this is the function get instance. So in the test case, what we do is that we write extend manager dot get instance. We call the get instance function. The get instance function will return you the object of extent reports. Okay, the get instance function will return you the object of extent reports. We call it rep equals to this. Okay, right. Now how it is working? It is initialize, if it is checking if this object is null. If it is null, then it will initialize it to the path where you want to generate this extent report. Then it will load the configuration from reports config.xml, which is under your project, and add some system information that this is optional, that this is the Selenium version you are using 2.53 and all. Basically, it gives the path of the report over here, that this is the path where the report has to be made, and load the configurations from this. And it returns you the object of extent reports class. You get the object of extent reports. In this object, you can write report dot start the test. Now in one report you can have multiple tests, right? So you will start one test case. Suppose I'll write start the test, login test starting. This will return you the object of another inbuilt class known as extend test. Okay, now you can, or you can just write over here login test, that this is the name of the test which you want to start. Now you can start logging. You can write over here test.log, log status.info. Okay, there are various types of log status, info, failure, fatal, error. There are a lot of things. Okay, so you can put in details that starting login test, right? Then you can write doing login, and then you can write ending login test, something like this. And if you want to report in the test case that it is passing, you can write log status dot pass. So when you run this code, it will be, report should be generated, but it will only be generated if you write these two lines, that is report dot end test. You have to start the test case in the report, then you have to end the test case, this particular test, and report dot flush. If you don't write these two lines, then reports will not be generated. Okay, when you run the code, this login test, you will see that in my PC D drive report, this report.html is generated at 10:10 p.m. right, and if I open it, it will open up. Okay, starting login test, doing login, ending login test, something like this, and it is putting a pass tick mark over here as well. You can, there is this toggle button, you can click on this, it will have a very cool type of a look, and you can click on this enable dashboard icon, and you will have the dashboard enabled, wherein you can see the graphical representation of the reports generated. So this is all automatic. The start time, the end time will be written over here. The report title, sample automation reports, this is coming from that XML file. Alright, so we will be using these reports in the framework. Okay, so this is about reporting. It's pretty simple, everything is inbuilt, you have to just know, you have to have the knowledge. Okay, right.